Video world. Of course, you know this is Charles Willis Racing, and I made a short video, I guess a few weeks ago, of a transmission replacement, and got a few calls and a few texts, emails, whatever you want to call it, to do a more detailed video of how to get a transmission out of the motor. So long story short, I've done a video. It takes a little while to do it. It's about an hour long, but it shows basically from start to finish, to splitting the cases and pulling the transmission out, and a couple of techniques that I use to do it. So as always, if anybody else has any better suggestions, even for me, of how to do it, it would make it easier, I'm open to that type of criticism, because I think that these YouTube channels should be used to help your basic layman home mechanic work on and service his bike a little better, if he has the tools and actually just to have the tools and inclination and desire to do a little mechanicking on his motorcycle himself, because as you know, the motorcycle dealers, the labor rate has just went off the chain. So I make these videos, hopefully somebody can learn from it, and it helps them out to maybe either, you know, change the oil, put transmission in, whatever it may be. So anyway, take a look at the video. Like I say, critique me on it, because there's people out there that I definitely know better ways of doing it, maybe, or easier ways, or we get all kind of critiques about people that they don't have positive comments. We get all the negative, and so we need more people to help people out, because like I say, the labor rates of working on a motorcycle now is just skyrocketed. And so if I can help anybody learn something, I'll do it. So anyway, check out the video, and like I say, critique me on it, because it might show me something that I don't know. So anyway, check out the video. All right, what's going on, video world? This is Charles at Willis Racing, and I'd done a short synopsis, I guess, a couple of weeks ago of how to change a transmission. Got a couple of phone calls, and some people wanted a more detailed explanation of how to do it. So basically, I'm gonna do that. Video's gonna be a little long, so if you want to learn it, watch the whole video. Here's the process. Take the engine out of the bike. Of course, you have to drain all the fluids out of it and do some different things. The first thing you need to do is and I'll show, got to clean off the covers. So you need to go ahead and get your power tools. And I done loosened everything up here basically. So you want to take off your generator cover and get all of the bolts and everything. And the easiest way that normally I like to do it, because I have normally a few motors laying around at the same time, I'll take all my bolts to the generator cover and whatever, and I'll stick it in. And then you go and set that wherever you need to set it. Now you know what nuts and bolts go where. So you take off your generator cover. Down here is your water pump. You got 2 bolts to take that water pump out. Take those 2 bolts out. Here's your water pump. Water pump slides out. Just like I said, I do the same thing. I normally take 2 bolts from that, and I need out of there. So, because you're going to put it back together, so keep everything together. Set your water pump out, and that basically will take care of that side of the motor. Come over to this side of the motor. This is your starter. I'm going to take your starter out. I do this, you could leave this in, but I do it just to move everything out of the way. So you'll take your starter out, and here's your whole starter cover, your starter gear mechanism. I want to get all of this off. Alright, same thing. I took the bolts out a little earlier to make this easier and quicker, but long story short, you take all your bolts. This is what I do, is I just simply throw them in the cover, because normally I have more than 2 or 3 motors apart at the same time, and it's just an easy way for me to keep track of all of my nuts, bolts, screws, and whatever I need. Now, this is basically just so you can split the cases on the bike. You gotta, of course, your starter gear here, take it and move it out the way. This is your clutch cover. Take the clutch cover off. Same thing. Just throw all your nuts and your bolts for the clutch cover in there. No big deal. Okay? Go on and pull this off. Pull the gasket off. Set it up there. Because you gotta realize that you're gonna need all this stuff when you go to put your bike back together. So keep it organized, and that way you won't have a hard time putting it back together. Okay, now this motor now, it's basically taken apart, everything off of it. And the main reason, again, the reason why you have to take it down to this, simply, you have to split the cases to get to your transmission. You have to split the cases on this motor, okay? Now, some people would move this up to a desk or a workbench or whatever you might want to do. Bear with me for a second, because I normally don't move it to a workbench or do anything like that. I got me a push stool set up, and where I can get everything done. Now, I'm going to take this camera and I'm going to get this camera up on the back of this motor, okay? Because these are the nuts and bolts that you're going to have to take out this motor, all right? These are the upper case bolts. This is what's bolted, holding the upper case to the bottom case on your motorcycle, all right, on the engine. You got a bolt here, got a bolt here, bolt here, bolt here, bolt here. You can leave this on, don't worry about that. You have a bolt here, have a little bolt here. These will be your upper case bolts. So while your motor is sitting, in this configuration, sitting up, you want to take those bolts out, all right? So bear with me for a second, and I'll be right back. I'm going to take those bolts out. Okay, these are the uppercase bolts that I'm going to take out. Stuck in there. Look at this. Look at this holes. I'll come back and get her in a second. It'll be kind of in there. Okay. This one here I'll take a, it's kind of tough to get out. Take a ratchet. Where's my ratchet at? Just take a ratchet. Get her up out of there. Alright, these were the upper bolt cases. This is what's actually holding the upper case and the bottom case together, alright? There's also, let me get back here where you can see where I'm going to be at. There's also, don't forget this little bitty small 8mm sitting right here. Okay, now, be a smart man, smart woman. I normally get a bag. And see, I got top on there. And it's just going to be simply for these top case bolts. Alright? So notice when I'm taking these bolts out, I'm going to show you something here. There's one of them. Now you notice this bolt right here, has this little copper washer. Alright? So stick that little copper washer on the bolt. It really doesn't, they're all the same, but just stick it on there so it don't get lost. But this is what is a good thing to do when you get there, so that you'll know this is so you'll know what bolt to stick that copper washer back on. This is going to help somebody out that's not used to doing this. Be a good thing for you. Just take a check, put your check right there, or mark, whether it's black, white, green, or blue mark, whatever. But you know then that that's where that copper washer goes. The same for this one. See the copper washer that I pulled off with that? Reach down in there and put your check mark on there, and you'll know that's where that copper washer goes. See, because as you can see, this one here that I'm pulling out right here, see, there's no copper washer. This one here, as I'm pulling out, see, there's no copper washer. But this one here, see, there's a copper washer. So what you do is, you know the copper washer came out of there, put your check by that. And now you know that's where your copper washers need to go. And that's why I got top written on this bag. Because now I know. I throw all of those in there, And I know that now those are my top of my engine. Those are the bolts for the top of my engine case. All right. All right. Now let me back this back off again. Get this thing back up here, because get down to a little nitty gritty here. All right. So now you just seen I just took everything off the engine. That makes it ready to split the cases. This is on the top side. Okay. Now, like I said, I don't work on these on a workbench. So what I did was I built myself a holder and a stand for my engine, because what I do is I take this holder and take those same head bolts from my engine and I put them in this holder. And what this is going to do is, you'll see in a second, it's going to make it super easy to deal with this motor, to move it around, to do whatever I need to do with this motor. This is going to make it super easy. So I'm going to put that in there. Because what I'm getting ready to do now is, this is why I normally just do my motor. I need to get this motor around upside down now. I need to get this motor flipped upside down so I can take out the lower case bolts. And this is a simple way that I just built this stand just to do it. I can take the motor and just roll it over, roll it to there, and lift it just like this on this stand. And see how the motor sit there now? The motor there now will sit there just like that. And let me get my camera over here, because of course now with that motor flipped up in the air, I'm gonna stand up here. So this thing will stand up here. Back to this video stuff. I ain't the greatest videoer, but I do the best that I can. All right. This thing set back up here. So now, it's sit right there. I think that's good enough for everybody to see. Now, I'm on the bottom of this motor. All right. I've done cleaned off the top of it to split the cases. So now I'm on the bottom of it. And this is what you need to do in the bottom. This is your oil pan. Alright, same thing, you take your oil pan and all your stuff, alright, handle it and do whichever way you need to do it, but get your spot where you can deal with everything and put everything back together. But go ahead and empty out your oil pan, take your oil return. You can get your, a lot of people don't know that there's an engine filter in the bottom of the engine. This is a engine filter right here. It's in the bottom of a Hayabusa motor. A lot of people just change the engine filter that's on the outside. This thing can get dirty and get clogged up too. This is the only way to get to it. Got to take the motor, well, you don't have to take the motor out. Take the exhaust system off and everything. It could be in the bike. But got to take the bottom of the oil pan off. And this is a filter that's inside the motor. It'd be a good idea to take your bike in if you got, I don't know, 10,000 miles on it, or who knows, you know, depending on how a person ride it, I would say that, and get it cleaned out. Save you a whole lot of time, whole lot of money. All right. So take that off. You have basically a cover here. This cover here, it's your engine balance cover. All right, so we'll pull that out. Keep some rags handy so you don't have your hands and everything filthy. So keep you some stuff handy. What I normally do is some people will go ahead and you can leave this engine balancer in there if you would like. Normally I take it out because this is a main oil feed. You cannot split the cases without unloosening this. You have to take this oil feed off. Let me get over by my camera and see if, yeah, okay. Yeah, you can see what I'm talking about. You have to take that oil feed off of there. So, let me see if I can get in there, take it off real quick. Take that off. I say keep your nuts and your bolts and all your stuff together. And if you notice right here, I think let me put that camera on down there. Somebody that may not know or have any idea or whatever. All right, where I just took that oil line off. I'm gonna zoom in on that so you'll see. See where I just took that oil line out? You see that O-ring that's sitting there? All right. Move this back. See that O-ring sitting there? And what I'm talking about is I'll show you in a second. This is my bolt that I took out, all right? Realize that just came out of there, all right? And also, as you can see, it's got another little crush washer on it, all right? What I try to do is I try to keep these crush washers in the same place that they were when I took them off, because as you can see, this here was crushed on there, and see how it's already made its own kind of indent and groove in there in this soft aluminum. So that's the way it seats better. I don't want to now take this off and throw it in my nut and bolt pile, and then when I flip it over or when I get ready to put it back together, you can see this side hasn't been seated. See what I'm saying? So watch the difference when I turn it over. See where this side here's got seated? It's got that little ring on it. So make sure and leave these on the same side. And the way I do that is, I just took this off. I make sure that stays in there like that. And see the other one that's right here? See that one right there? I take that one and I slip it right on there just like this, because it has also seated too. And now I know that when I go back to put these back together, I don't need to go out and buy new ones, because I'm putting them back the way they were. And if they aren't bad, boogered up, which there's no reason for them to be, you're seating the thing back. You're seating them back the same way they were taken off. And normally when you do that, you have no problem with leaks or any other problem with them. So do the best you can and do that with, and also that's why you see me, I left the copper washers on. The same exact bolt that I took them off, I left the copper washers on there the same way that they came off. That way when I bolt it back down, she should seat back together and not have a whole lot of leaks. So what I normally do for something like that is, I'll put those washers in there. I'll put those washers and everything in there, and I'll take me some tape, and I'll take them bad babies up, just like that. And now they can't get lost. They can't get turned over the opposite way, and I can put it right back together the exact way I took it apart. Nice and easy. Don't have to worry about the nuts and bolts getting confused or any of that. Just nice and easy, taking it apart and putting her back together. Because it's always easy to take something apart. Most of the time when you get ready to put it back together, that's when some issues may occur. And so, let me see if I got that on camera. All right, I'm gonna back this camera up a little bit so you can see what I'm gonna take out now. You can see the bolts, and now you'll see why I like to have this stand, because now I can manipulate the motor. I can move it wherever I want. So instead of me moving this camera around, as you see, I just move that there a little bit, and I'm good to go again. Now, I'm getting ready to take out the engine balancer. I'm gonna get that engine balancer out of there. All right. No big deal. Just make sure you don't drop. There's some washers. There's some big washers on the side of this engine balancer, and you want to make sure and don't drop it in there. But just this shaft, just stick a screwdriver in there a little bit, and that'll wiggle it out, just like that. And the engine balancer come out of there. And like I say now, you want to, let me see if I can get that. Let me see, I'll back this up so I can show you exactly what's going on inside the motor. Let's get right up here. See that shaft now that I pulled out? There's that balance shaft. Here's the engine balancer right here. You got washers, you got some big holding washers on both sides of it. I'll just call them shims on both sides of that. So just get in here and hold this thing so all that stuff don't drop down inside the motor when you pull the shaft out. So just get under here and hold it. Go ahead and pull the shaft out and reach in. See how I'm reaching in? And I'm grabbing both of them on the side, because now once you got it up in the air, you see how these, see, they'll fall out. It's just a big bearing. So that'll just keep the stuff from going down in the motor and you happen to hunt and fish for it. So pull that bad baby out. Way to keep everything together, stick that shaft right back in there. Normally what I do is, this is what I call an oddball nut and bolt. Yeah, don't stick it in there. I've done treat it myself. Long story short, take this thing, take this oddball nut and bolt and do the same thing. Just stick that oddball nut and bolt back in there. And And like I say, you gotta take care of this to keep all this stuff together. But that's the engine balancer. All right. So got that. Now we down to the nitty gritty. As you can see, all these bolts. Let me back this out. I'm gonna back this out a little bit, and I'm gonna pull off the shift cover, because really that's the, you get the shift cover. So yeah, let's see if I can't get this. There we go. All right, that's the shift cover right there for your shift shaft. Pull that out of there. Let's go and take this out. Well, you know what? I can't just do this. Correction. Let's do this. I normally only pull that out to inspect it. I'll wait. Just wait until you get actually the case is split, because the case will split without this shaft housing being out. Okay, it really will split. But you're back to the same thing. Let me see if I can't get a better spot for you. And I'm gonna zoom this out now, and then I'll zoom it in certain points. But all right, we're gonna take the lower case or the bottom case bolts out. So same thing. What I do with a plastic bag, I put bottom on it, because all of these bolts that come out of this bottom case, I'm putting in this bag. So I know once I get ready to assemble it, these bolts all go in the bottom somewhere. There should be none. This is a case where when you're working on something and you say, oh, I got an extra nut and bolt left over. No, you can't. If you got an extra bolt and nut left over from this, you better find it. You better find it, because something's gonna go wrong. So this is not a case of having leftover nuts and bolts. And the best way to keep track of all of it is put it in the bag. So yeah, you can see it. So let's start taking all these nuts and bolts out of here for this lower case. So as you can see, you got to pay attention to kind of what you're doing, because you got these little bitty bolts. Now, the most important thing, because it's done happened to me, and I know from experience, I'm sitting here banging trying to get these cases apart, and they won't come apart, and I don't know, and it's stuck together. Well, here's why. It's going to help a lot of people out, and I'm going to show you right now why. Let's get around here. See if I can get it here. Get it there? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to zoom into it now, so here we go. And just so you'll know. Get on down there a little bit further. Yep. Alright, you see that little bolt right there? Now remember now, I just took, let me see if I can, let me get around and get a better spot for you, so you have a really good shot at it. Let's look at it from over here. I don't know why my okay, there it goes. That thing was so stiff. Okay, let's get right here so I can get you a better shot of this. Alright. I still can't get what I really want, can I? Now it's hidden. Okay, I'm just going to hold it in my hand and pay attention and look here. See where I'm at in that motor? Remember, I just took out the engine balancer. Remember, I just took that out. And within just taking that engine balancer out, hidden up under that balancer, you see that little bolt right there? That bolt has to come out. All right? If you forget that bolt and start banging on these cases, and you realize, man, these cases won't come out, it's because you forgot that little bolt. You have to get that little bolt out, and it's hidden up under that balancer. So you got to get down in there and get that little bitty bolt out. See how that little bolt comes out? And there you go, see? That little bolt is bolted to the top of the case from the bottom side. So get that out. All right, that was a lot of trouble. All right, let's get back over here. All right. So now you got, I've done loosened up. Let's back it up some more. I done loosened up all the bolts. So here we go, I'm getting them out. These are all the smaller ones, all right? I do them all basically one at a time so I know, so I basically keep track of them. And just like I said before, the safest way to keep track, make you a bag that says bottom, because you can't end up with mix match bolts, and if you end up with one of these missing, you better find it. Hopefully it ain't in the motor, but you better find it. So when you get to this point right here, you now can pull out, these are all your main bolts right here. And I'm going to try to help out with this camera again just by moving it. These are all your main bolts. This here's all holding your crank. All right. Now, let me zoom in because this is also kind of important here. See on these end ones, see they got the copper washer on it. Remember that. And so let me zoom back out and you'll see exactly where they're at on the motor. There's two over here. And there's two right there. Okay, they got them copper washers on them. Those things have to be, those copper washers have to be back on there, okay? These bolts in the inside, just, it's on the inside of the motor. And I'll show you, just pay attention to those. Okay, these are the inside. So this is all holding your crank down, all right? So let me get over here. Here's the two with the copper washers on the end. You got 1, 2, 3, and see how they are a different color? 1, 2, 3. See how they are a different color from the other ones. These are longer, all right? Just remember where they're supposed to be at. And you should know because they won't fit. But as you can see, they're a different color. And they're also longer. And so if you put your washers on the ends like you put it back, when you put it back together, just put your washers in the right spot and put those, and boom, you should be good to go. All right, so just pay attention to that as you're taking the motor apart. If you pay attention to that, it's a breeze if you pay attention to that. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pop them out real quick. I got 114. On the back side right here, let me see if we can see that. Yeah, on the back side right here. That's just an oddball bolt. It's a what, 14? So that's going to be the only basically oddball bolt. Is this 14 back here? All right. Everything else is all 12s. All right. So this will only be the oddball. And the same thing. Make sure you don't confuse yourself and get messed up with these nuts and bolts. Put them in that bag marked bottom, and now you know that they go into the bottom of your case and the bottom of your motor. So if you set them up, put them that way, it makes it easy. Once you get ready to put this thing back together, it's I mean, it is easy as pie. Okay. All right, these are taking out all the wheels. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you this. Get to it. I'll show it now. Something else that's kind of important when you take this motor apart, you get them cases split. Where I am right here on this motor. Zoom in there. See that bracket right there? A lot of people try to leave this bracket off. You can leave it off, but you have to space it with some washers. This bracket is needed because these bolts here are just they are a little hair longer than the other ones, as you can see. See? So as you can see now, see? They're a little bit hair longer, all right? A little bit more than hair longer, all right? These long ones right here go there, all right? So make sure that you realize that. So it's just to show you that, and it's just those two right there. They're longer than the other ones, all right? So it should be no confusion getting them in and out. So, but these are still all your bottom bolts, and that's when you run into those two. Let me get back in the video here. When you run into those two bolts that are longer than normal, they go right here for that bracket. All right. That's what they're there for. Is that they make the space of that bracket. So. That's what they're there for, all right? And once again, now, this is the bottom of your motor. You can see that I'm saying this time after time again. Keep track of these nuts and bolts, because as you can see, they're different. Once again, this is at the bottom of the motor. Now, this is the bottom of the motor. Stick them in your bag. So don't think that and same thing, when you pull out your washered ones, just leave them on there. I leave them on there. I stick them in my bag. You see how these are longer? I'll wait till we get to the last one. You just have to, I don't want to drop it. Get these last ones out of here. Enough of that. So am I still in video? Yep. So those are, see how they different color? They belong in a different spot. But you can definitely tell the difference. They're longer, all right? This one here is not going to fit in there. See how it's dead out in the bottom. This here is what belongs in there. So the silver shiny ones belong in the top. These here belong over here. The ones with the, if you keep the metal washers on, the ones with the crush copper washers, those belong in the end. The rest of them now, you know, you can put anywhere you want to, except for the ones with the brackets. They're a little bit longer. They go right here. As simple as that. All right? No big deal if you keep everything together. If you do not keep it together, it's going to turn into a big deal. It will definitely turn into a big deal if you don't keep it together. So let me get this back over here out of my way and zoom this thing, because I'm going to go over here to the clutch in just a second. Last thing I'm going to do is go to the clutch. I'm going to take out one more bolt. One more bolt. Bottom. All right. Now, we basically have these cases ready to come off. You got to realize, though, right here on this clutch side, let me see if I can't get everything down here. Clutch, yeah. See that clutch? If you look in the back of that clutch back there, yeah, you can see it. There's a line. Give me a screwdriver here. See if I can see it on video myself, where I'm pointing. See the clutch sensor, gear sensor? And that line comes around. That gear sensor line, that comes around. And that's actually it, okay? It's got little bitty bolts. It's bolted on the side of the motor. And actually it's bolted to the back side of the case. So remember to get in there and take that line out before you start to split the cases, because that thing is holding it on. It's actually bolted in there. And what I'll do is this. I'll just go ahead and do it. Because I can do it. I can do it without taking it apart. But it ain't easy for somebody to. So let me do it. Let me just do it. Stop playing around. Let me just do it. That way nobody will be confused. All right. So basically the way to get that out is this. Go ahead and just take your whole clutch out. Let's just take the whole clutch out. Pull the whole clutch out of here. That'll make it easier for some people. Just take the whole clutch mechanism out. I'm gonna take everything out. Pull the whole entire thing out. play with this big washer to get it out, but the easiest way to get that out, jiggle it. See, because it's got a big spacer and a bearing right there in your clutch. So if you can jiggle it, get that big spacer and that bearing out, and now that whole clutch, inner clutch basket, big basket will come out, and you have a ring on the end of it now. So hopefully you can deal with that piece. And then here's a last little piece right here. Just take your screwdriver. There's a real screwdriver right here. Get this washer off of here. And there you go. Now you see the line. Let me get in there and zoom in on it now. So now that I'm in there, you see the little electrical line? It runs in. This is where your case splits, is right here. So see how it's bolted in? It's got these little, so you need to get that, need to have that line unhooked, because that'll keep your case from coming up. So normally I do it with the basket sitting in there, but I think now it's a lot clearer to somebody who is just looking at this and they saying, how in the world, what is he doing? How's he trying to get that out? Well, now you can see what I'm saying. Because the only thing we're trying to do is move that line. Take that line. You see? There you go. So you don't have to worry about these. Just take them. That's all I normally do, is I just take them and snug them right back in their spot. They belong, and they're there for me to use again. So now, this is where you're at. Whole motor split down. And get you a mallet. Well, let me back this out now. Back this out. Boop, boop. I don't know if people would rather be, anyway, let's see if you'd rather be from that side. Let's get it up over the motor so it'll be better. All right. Now, we got that whole engine. We got everything out of it. This case is ready to be split apart. I normally take and just hold it, and take your little rubber mallet. Go all the way around. Just go all the way around your case. Don't beat it up now. Just take your little rubber mallet. And now grab it. There she go. Now be careful when you do it now, because you got to realize this stuff is important. Here's all your bearings. These are all your main bearings. And these bad babies, look, they nice. So these are all your main engine bearings. Here's your crank sitting here. Then here's your transmission right here. All right? And that's what we are here to replace, is that transmission. There's nothing to getting this transmission out. Only thing you have to do is just hold it. See that bad baby pops out? It pops out all together. All right? The transmission basically is two parts. And the same thing. Just pull it up. See how easy that transmission is? It pops apart. Now, okay. I know that was a little bit longer, but for somebody who needed help, that's how simple it is. Now that transmission is out, you can inspect your bearings on the engine. And just like I said, I'm going to zoom in on those bearings and stuff. Let's get that. There we go. And those are the engine bearings, the main bearings right there. And boy, those babies, they so good. I can see my lights in them. So ooh, they nice. And then of course, transmission. And then there's my crank right there. So you can just about inspect and see everything, the overall condition of your motors. And that crank, boy, that bad baby is smooth. I like it. So just from getting it apart and looking at it, I basically can inspect this whole entire engine. And as you can see, the heads on it, the blocks on it, boom, no need to even worry about that stuff. She's split apart. You can now change the transmission. Let me get over here so I don't take up any some of these people's time. They say these videos is too long, but this is the only way to learn. So anyway, this is going to help out who called me and asked for help. So for those other folks that I guess they know it all or whatever the situation is, whatever. But anyway, use the shift forks right here. And as I showed last time, when you get to the shift forks, just boom, simply take off the shifter cover here, and boom, it's got a retainer that's sitting in there, and the shift forks will come right out. No big deal. I want to look at these shift forks, and some babies look they good too. All right. So that's it. That's how to split the cases and get to your transmission. Look at the bottom of your motor, everything. As you can see, you need to be detailed about taking all the nuts and bolts and that type of stuff off. Now, this is going to help out. Let me just get where I can see my tools. You see right there? It's everything I use to split that whole entire motor down and get that transmission, get to where I am. That's all the tooling that I use right there, all right? You're gonna have to have some tooling. Now, let me go back to where you're putting this back together, all right? This is the most important thing that you're gonna need. You'll be able to figure out everything else putting it back together. Go to the owner's manual, or if you got you a service manual book, go in the service book and find out what all the torque specs are for all your nuts and bolts, okay? You're going to need that because here's why. On this crank, when you're cranking these bolts back in through the cases, say your case is on the bottom end of your bottom of your case is going to get mated to your top case, and you're putting the bolts in and you start to put them in, you have to torque them down to a certain spec. If you over torque them, it'll smash your bearings, and it'll smash the bearings together, and you're gonna ruin your motor. You're gonna outrun the crank. You got to put it back together by the specs. So be wise. Go and don't go out there and buy a cheap torque wrench. Buy you a torque wrench like this, and simply you power the thing up. See, there you go. So that torque wrench is powered up. You can take it and set it to, say I want to torque something, say, there it is right there. 10 foot-pounds, 10 lbs, okay? So I can take this now and Look how good this wrench is. That's why you need to know the torque specs of putting this stuff back together. You have to. If you don't, you're going to be in trouble. So this is the most important thing that really I can tell you. But you can get over here to this engine. And this is why you buy a good torque wrench. So this is set right now at 10 foot-pounds, all right? So just say on this boat, if it was 10 foot-pounds, this is what this wrench is going to do for me. I'm torquing it. I'm tightening it up. Man, I'm tightening. I'm going. I'm getting her tight, okay? Now I got her tight. I don't know exactly where I am, but listen. So hear that beep? That beep is telling me I got that bad baby set at that 10 foot-pounds. Don't go getting one of those cheap things that you just look at a needle jump up and down and don't put this, I'm just warning you, don't put it back together without a torque wrench. If you do, I can just say I warned you, okay? Buy you a good torque wrench and torque all these bolts back down to spec. Other than that, as I say in all my videos, bye-bye.